kicking it off today is Dwayne Carlyle. Dwayne is the president and founder of Carlyle Performance Systems. He's a performance consultant to the NFL, Pac-12, and many other athletes. He served as the director of sports performance at Purdue University, and he's also the former strength and conditioning coach for the San Francisco 49ers. Dwayne actually started the first full-time sports performance facility in Philadelphia. He's probably sick of hearing me say this, but it was lightning fast training systems. I was actually fresh out of college, and I still remember going there. It was actually the first time I met Dwayne in person. He definitely does not remember me. He definitely doesn't realize that, 20 plus years later, I would be introducing him on our webinar. But I still remember walking in there. I was in awe. I was flattered by it. So love seeing it. So happy to still be in touch with him and be able to introduce him. Happy to have him here today. Dwayne Carlyle.
Hello, everyone. I would like to thank you first and foremost for that introduction. I'd like to thank Perform Better for this opportunity to be able to share my passion with you. And that's helping young coaches and coaches alike to enhance their ability to earn income doing something that they're super, super passionate about. For those of you who are on, I also want to thank you all for being part of this and hopefully be able to shed some knowledge and shed some light on how to maximize your profitability doing something that you love. This is all about possibilities. And so when we look at being a coach, we get into the field and we're wondering, how can I create financial stability? Am I going to be doing this 5 to 10 years from now? Is this something that I can raise a family and support them and send kids to college and so forth? Now, I had those questions when I started in the profession. And when you look at the way the profession has gone now, particularly in that college market, professional market, it's super challenging. People getting fired every day. It's tough. And on the private sector, how can you earn a sustainable living? So we're going to cover a lot of actionable items that's going to help you set the foundation to be able to maximize your ability to not only stay in the game, but thrive in the game. Speed has been part of my life ever since I was a 10-year-old. The picture of me and my dad. My dad coached me, and I was able to run in the Jesse Owens games. At 11 years old, there I am in the starting blocks with my pops. And see the caption says, Carlyle going to Los Angeles. Well, I'm from Massachusetts. And I had this opportunity at 11 years old through a speed training endeavor because I had placed at a certain level in the Jesse Owens games to then move on and compete at UCLA when I was just a young gun. But it was my dad who planted that seed and gave me the hope and showed me the possibilities of things that a kid from Haverhill could potentially do. And that foundation, that seed that my dad planted as it related to speed training allowed me to move in so many different areas. It allowed me to see so many different things. And from the time I was 11 years old until now, I'm doing something that I love. You've often heard when people have said, find something you love and you'll never have to work a day in your life. I don't know if that's fully true, but I can tell you this, from having experienced it, it's led me to many, many opportunities. So when you look at my coaching journey, I not only have coached at the professional level, I've coached at the collegiate level, I've coached at the high school level, I've coached in the private sector, and the commonality throughout all those populations has been that I've coached speed. So when we look at the journey, I'm not showing you this to impress you, but to impress upon you that what I'm going to share with you is going to be a dynamic perspective from all different levels of training. So I've been fortunate to have worked with multiple professional teams, ranging from football, professional soccer, lacrosse, and baseball. I've worked at the university level, as I mentioned. I've also worked with a lot of private clients. Some of my private clients are high-level CEOs that I have the great fortune of working with and grabbing nuggets from. So this presentation, you kick this thing off when it comes to business, it's always a you versus you battle. What do I mean by that? We oftentimes have limiting beliefs in terms of what we can accomplish and what we can attain. And you struggle. There's this inner struggle sometimes. Like if I'm in the college profession, sometimes you get a little scared to venture out. If you have that passion to want to go into the private sector, how am I going to make a living? How am I going to pay for benefits? How am I going to be able to have a sustainable career? Some of us like the comfort, and that's okay. That is absolutely okay if the comfort is where you are. Nevertheless, it's always a you versus you. You think about the scenarios and things that we're challenged with. That's why, no pun intended, but when we look at Start With Why, this is a book that many have referenced and many have read. Sometimes we read a book and we go into the next book and we go into the next book. But this book here, by Simon Sinek, is a tremendous book that sets the foundation for you as a coach. It sets the foundation for your earning potential. Start with why. Why are you in it? I can tell you this, if you're in it strictly to profit and the passion's not there, it'll be tough for you because your clients will ultimately see that you're not in it to help them. And therefore, you may not stay in the game a long time. So identify what your why is. Going back to the you versus you, this is a great book by Brianna West. And this book is titled The Mountain Is You. If you look at this quote here, you have to become the kind of person who deserves the life you want. And she walks you through taking a deep dive into self and then ultimately helps you arrive at having a comfort level and understanding of yourself to be able to attack and overcome challenges. Now, it's drop gem time. We're going to start with how to transform your passion into profit. Now, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the Leslie Wolfe Effect. Leslie Wolfe was one of my first clients at Cherry Hill, New Jersey. I had left Penn State, started my career as a sprint and jump coach, moved to Cherry Hill, New Jersey. While I was there, I was going through the uncertainty of how am I going to make a living? We had a 2-year-old at the time. How are we going to take care of our family? Started training people, as many of us do, on the fields, getting kicked off fields, and people telling you had to have a permit and so forth. But nevertheless, you make it work. And then I met Leslie Wolfe. She saw me outside on the track training a kid. She comes up to me and she says, "Would you be interested in training my son?" Looked at her son. Sure. Why not? Football player, offensive lineman at the time. Kid couldn't run out of sight in a day. However, took on the challenge, and that's where my career soared. Little did I know that Leslie Wolfe Effect would teach me more about business than I could possibly have imagined. So what is the Leslie Wolfe Effect? We're going to examine it by me showing you the impact that one client can make on your earning potential. We look at lifetime client value. Very, very key thing to look at. And at the time, I knew nothing about it. Nothing. It was only retrospect that I looked at it and said, whoa, talk about impact. Look at the impact that Leslie Wolfe had on my life. Let's take a sample example of someone. Let's say Leslie Wolfe's paying me $100 per session. Wasn't that much back then, but due to inflation, carried it forward. You're training her kid 2 times a week, or I'm training her kid 2 times a week, which amounts to 44 weeks per year. Nice income, wouldn't? Really nice income. So when we think about how much what I've earned by training her son for the entire year at $100. The math, bing, $8,800. Now that's a nice income. And it puts us and sets us on the path of a six-figure income. It gets better. Watch this. This is where the Leslie Wolfe Effect really began to take hold. So she, the one coaching client. Now, Leslie Wolfe, boy, I tell you, Leslie got up on Mount Everest and started singing praises. Leslie single-handedly brought me 20 clients at least. And then Leslie said, D, she always called me D, you need to be doing something for the summer. There's nothing going on for the summer for our football team. And I'm going to talk to the athletic director. And I'm going to get you in there because I think you can help our players. Before I knew it, do a summer clinic, $20 a kid. Did it for football, and then it led to other sports, such as basketball. Now I'm working with a basketball team. Unbelievable. So I had football and had basketball. This is all during the summer at one high school at Cherry Hill East High School. And I get approached by some of the coaches, female coaches, that said, look, our female athletes are neglected, and we would love for you to work with our athletes. And then I got several of Leslie's friends to train who were adult clients, and it helped to fill up my morning. It was phenomenal. I had 5 or 6 of them, and I'm still in touch with many of them to this day. So, what does the Leslie Wolfe Effect look like based on all those referrals of clients? Let's do the math. Boom. 120 grand. That's just in a year. Notice I've used the word lifetime value. We stretched it out and we did the math over the 5 or 6 years that I was there. My goodness. Erin mentioned how she trained with me at my lightning fast facility. The lightning fast facility is located in Downingtown, Pennsylvania, or was. We were able to self-finance the lightning fast facility based on the Leslie Wolfe Effect. She brought us phenomenal clients. So I want you to keep that in mind. And the lesson here is that Leslie Wolfe is an impactful person. You need to find a Leslie Wolfe. Let's talk about this. Your drive and passion is going to fuel it. I believe it was because my drive and my passion to help athletes that was the difference maker. To help her son, I poured into her son. And ultimately, her son got better and better. And Leslie just wanted to share the good news. Hey, my kid's gotten better. She didn't know if her kid was going to make varsity. Never mind, end up being a starter all conference player. So when we think about your drive and passion, look, you get a Leslie Wolfe based on you delivering a high quality service and allowing that kid to get results, or the person who you're working with to get results. It's contagious. This is another great book, Jonah Berger. This book right here revolutionized my mindset. So I think about this quote: word of mouth is a primary factor behind 20 to 50% of all purchasing decisions. If you give somebody a story to tell by creating great results, they're compelled. They can't help themselves in sharing the good word about how you have helped them. Now, talk about key components that you need to be successful. Drive and passion is one. Number two is a training system. A lot of coaches will go out there and they'll wing it. And they're good enough to wing it. Maybe they got personality. They were a college athlete and they know what to do and they follow the blueprint that they used. Is that what's best for everyone? Not necessarily. But having a training system is going to lead to repeatable and reproducible results. The bottom line is, if you're in the business of training athletes for speed, you gotta get them fast. Go get them fast. Typo, got them fast. Okay, folks, we're gonna keep it rolling. Here is a great book, speaking of speed and soaring. T.D. Jakes. Too many people want the appearance of winning rather than the practices and hard work that create a true champion. Take that nugget and run with it. Because when we think about what it takes to drive a business and to be successful and to have a sustainable business, you have to have a mindset that's grounded in persistence, hard work, and consistency. You got to show up every day. You got to be the same person every day so that your clients know what to expect from you. As we look at our various revenue streams, when we're building out our speed training system, you got to decide what direction you want to go. Do you want to go the personal training route? The one-on-one clientele? As you can see, could be fairly lucrative. 6 clients, doing 20 sessions a week, 44 weeks out of the year, that gets us to $52K. That's a very, very good income. Now, if you add a fast school, we were running fast schools back in the day, way back in the day. And fast schools are a great revenue source to help athletes get to where they're trying to go. It would fall in the bucket of semi-private training. And if you look at a fast school, 6 athletes, $40 a session, 2 sessions per week, 44 weeks, that's an additional $21,000. And we're just talking about 2 sessions per week. The light bulb's starting to go off as you move from private to a semi-private. Then you have the subscription models. The subscription models are scalable. You can run these from the confines of your living room. The subscription model, if you do it right, and there are certain platforms out there that you can take advantage of. There's Trainerize and there is Train Heroic and there's Team Builder. There's exercise.com. There's several platforms out there where you can build a subscription model and you can put together training plans for people all over. You're not limited geographically. You got 50 clients at $50 a month. And you do one group coaching call so that there's a personal touch. Right? So that they know who's coaching them. You're communicating because guess what? Your passion is such that you want them to get better. Therefore, you invest in your clients so that they get better by having great communication with them. Now that's $30K a year. If you do the math there, you're over 100,000. 103. Just 3 services. Personal training clients, that's 20 hours a week. 2 sessions per week. Fast school, it's 22. And then your group coaching calls. Let's call that commitment of about 5 hours. You got to build out, you got to build your videos and you got to build your system. But again, these areas are all based on your system. So here's the key thing. When you build out your training system has to support your various revenue streams, your various programs that you're running. So you have to have a system. Pictured here is our system. We have our custom platform that we've created that allows us to build out our system. Why is that important? Because again, you can go as one, the Lone Ranger, or as you're building out your business You get to a point where you can only handle so many people, and now there's an overflow of clients. Are you going to service them? You're going to give them to somebody else and let somebody else train them? Or are you going to hire someone and coach someone? Well, if you hire and coach someone, you got to have a system so that the results are repeatable and reproducible. The one challenge that we have in our business is that our business is built on typically the personality of the one who started the business. I've been there. When I went from one location to 2 locations, it was a nightmare. I felt bad leaving a lot of the athletes. My time was now split from the original location. People started talking, oh, he's got a second location now, and he's over here and he's over there. Well, how do you get around that? You got to build a system, and you have to be able to train and coach up your people so that they can deliver at a high quality. If you look at some people just in our industry who built out great systems, Bill Parisi and I, we were competitors to a certain degree. I was in South Jersey. He was in North Jersey when we both started, and look at what he's built. He's created an unbelievable system. Mike Boyle, who was my former strength coach and good friend, Mike has created an unbelievable system that is scalable. So those are the things that you have to consider. Now, this is the piece that a lot of coaches don't want to deal with. I just want to coach. I just want to go out and coach, man. I don't want to deal with the business. Well, if you don't want to deal with the business side, then I question whether you want to be in business. Because as you're coming up, there's certain skills that you're going to have to learn. And this is a very important skill. It's financial planning. It is what is going to help you build a sustainable business model so that 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30 years from now, you're in a great position because you took care of this. As Marshawn Lynch says, I don't know if you guys follow football, but he's always talking about you need to count your chickens. He refers to counting your chickens dollars. You need to take care of that. So with that being said, I highly recommend this book, Profit First. It's a great book that will help set the foundation and give you a good, solid education around the financial planning aspect of your business. So when we think about, what does that look like? These are things that people don't like to look at. But when you put together an event, such as a speed clinic or a fast school, or you're working in a particular venue that is your own, these are things that you have to look at. You're going to start something. You got to look at your startup costs, right? There's tech setup, there's equipment, there's professional fees and registrations. Now, many of us choose not to tack on that cost. We're going to find a place out in the field, find a place wherever to go ahead and do our business and deliver our service that we don't have to pay, take on that additional overhead. All good. All good. The thing that I just say to you is this: just make sure you cover your behind. Because when you're on a field and you're at a location and you don't have professional insurance for that location and something happens, God forbid something happens, they're going to try to prove that you were negligent in some sort of way. And they're going to take a deep dive and they're looking at, oh, did this person have a permit? Did this person have this? Did this person have that? So that's all I'm going to say on that. But it's important that you look at those things, because at the end of the day, when we're trying to build a business and you do it the right way, it's just a small cost to take care of professional insurance or to rent a facility. It's just the cost of doing business. So we look at recurring costs. If you take on overhead, you have to account for rent and utilities, insurance and staff and advertising and transportation, all those goody things. And then you have to look at your program details, your personal training. Are you going to offer group training? You're going to have events and memberships and so forth. All those things factor into the equation of how much money you ultimately net and put in your pocket. And then forecasting. Forecasting is a very important component. Now, I didn't like doing that. And I don't want to sit down here and do what's called a pro forma. A pro forma is when you look out 3-6 months and you have a target, you got a goal, you work backwards. We want to hit this income level. All right, great. All good. How do you get there? How do you get there? So pro forma is very important to create and deliver. And then lastly, we're going to look at cash flow projections. Let me tell you this, folks. When you have your business, managing cash is highly important. Often heard the term, cash is king. So here's what I did. Maybe they offer this in your area. I was a young gun that moved to the Philly area. As I mentioned, I was in Cherry Hill, New Jersey. I worked and worked and worked. And finally, I didn't know what I was doing, right? I wasn't managing cash. I didn't know what I was doing. And I discovered Wharton School of Business at University of Pennsylvania had a small business development center. And they took on clients like me. All you had to do was go through an interview process. And they took you on as a client. You got to work with someone who was a current MBA student. They were the first year or second year, but most of them had experience in management consulting and having worked in other areas, 3 to 5 years of experience, and they helped shape the business model. The number one thing they told me, cash is king. So I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this cash flow projection, but this is really, really important that you understand cash. Why? Let's say the beginning of the month, you have $10,000 in the bank. Great. Now, question is what are you going to have at the end of the month to start the next month? So how you spend the money in between based on whatever budget you establish, or if you don't have a budget and you just spend frivolously, it's going to jump you like King Kong at the end of the month. And so you're starting the next month behind, and it can truly impact your operations. So it's something to be very, very aware of as you're building toward your $100,000 plus career. So we think about business processes. Business processes, and again, client focus. So what is a business process? Business process is simply how you conduct your business from the beginning to the end. So how do you onboard your client? So if you're running a speed clinic, or if you're running a fast school, do you give people the appropriate information so that they know what time to show up, what to wear, how to get there, what the format's going to be like? Those are all important ingredients that really lends itself to the perception of your brand. Remember, features tell, stories sell. It can work both ways. You're not on top of your game. You're not prepared for an event and people don't have the right information. Oh, they're going to call you. They're going to call you to get that information, which is going to cut into your time. But more importantly, you don't want them talking. You don't want them talking in the community. Oh, I did this and they didn't get back to me, or the blah, blah, blah. So take a look at these things, because client focus is important. We talked about financial management. We talked about, here's a key, trainer focused. Remember now, you can go alone or you can build a team. And in building a team, here are some of the things to consider. Hiring processes, trainer, onboarding. This is something I'm still working at getting better at. Onboarding coaches when they come on to help assimilate them in a seamless way so that they understand what the culture is, what the mission is, and how we go about doing things. Assigning trainers and coaches, managing schedules. Now we talk marketing. Marketing is a big umbrella when it comes to this. And many of you are social media. You guys probably got 50,000 more followers than I got, at least. Key is, when it comes to social media, are you converting them into clients? That's the key. And then we look at business processes as it relates to quality control. Your quality control is very important. Right? Getting feedback from your consumer and your client with regard to their experience, as well as how things are running. from their perspective. So when we look at the book, Good to Great, another one. Greatness is not a function of circumstance. Greatness, it turns out, is largely a matter of conscious choice, discipline. And as I mentioned, you got to work. You got to roll your sleeves up and you got to work to go from good to great. You don't want to just be a great coach. That's big. You want to be a great business person as well. So when we think about marketing and sales machine, this is the next component that's really, really critical to driving a speed business. You guys are thinking, man, coach, whoa, I thought we were just going to talk drills right now, coach. Man, you hit me with all this business. Yep, because I want you to be in a position 25 to 30 years from now where your game is tight. You're thinking about where you want to retire to, which home that you want to retire and live at, because you've accumulated 4 or 5 because you ran such a great business. So when we think about marketing and sales, here's another great book titled The Power of Moments. Defining moments rewire our understanding of ourselves or the world. In a few seconds or minutes, we realize that something might influence our lives for decades. We are change agents as coaches. We have opportunities to create powerful moments based on how we coach our athletes, based on the experience that we create when they interact with us in our business and brand. Take advantage of those moments because you can't get those moments back, and treat every athlete as though they're highly, highly important. Every client, the parent. Sometimes, in our profession, if we're dealing with parents, it could be exhausting because parents, some of them, tough. You guys know where I'm coming from. However, if you use the parent as an ally, as opposed to looking at them as an adversary, how do you do that? This is an approach that has worked with me. I detach from the parent. I detach from their interaction because, you know what? I'm really not going to be able to change that because that's their kid. And they're the ones who've done the research to discover us. They're the ones who are making the investment and paying. They're the ones that are driving their kid and rearranging their schedule so that the kid can get to training. And I'm going to put my nose up at them? No. Having been a parent and having invested in trainers, skill development coaches, gone on trips here and there and so forth, I realized it's a big investment on a parent's end. So make them your ally. How so? You simply ask them questions. You simply keep them in tune with the direction that you're taking their kid. You keep them abreast of how their kid is doing. Give them feedback in terms of where they need to go next. So as we're journeying along this path to 6 figures, let's just take a look at the sales cycle. And I'm going to step through this relatively quickly, but look at the steps that pertain to the sales cycle. Now, this is really important. Guess what? You can take that passion and that drive to your business. You can create a great system and programming to help them improve their speed and athleticism. You can do all these things right. And then you get the client, you get the opportunity to make the sale. You don't close the deal. Hey, some people, they get frightened at the sale. Oh, it blows them away. They don't want to touch it. And the reality is, you gotta finish the deal. Finishing the deal is getting the sale. And one of the strategies that I've used is when you create a sales funnel up front so that it's seamless from whether it be, let's take, for example, Instagram. Instagram is a phenomenal tool you can use to your advantage and build an audience. Now, how do you take that audience, turn them into a client? So if we use a fast school, for example, I've identified my target audience through great strategic preparation and establishing the right objectives if I choose to do Facebook advertising, because you can target a consumer, your ideal consumer. And once you target your ideal consumer, now on the back end, internet with my website, I gotta make sure my website is right, that we have the appropriate pixels, that we have the API conversion in place, that I create an event in Facebook. And typically that event is associated with my thank you page, so that when someone goes through the process, they click on the link from an Instagram story, because you can't put links in your posts. They click on a link from the Instagram story, and then it takes them to the landing page on my website. And I had that functionality in place with Facebook for my objective. I wanted to create traffic to my page or conversions to my page. They click on the link for the fast school. Once they click on that link, so they click on the link for the fast school from the story, takes them to my lead page. When they discover my lead page, then what's next? Things have got to be tight and right. I got to lead them down the sales funnel. I got to give them all the information that they want to know to be able to make a sale. Now, if I can do a great job doing that and they don't call me and they feel confident enough about our product that they buy, and then chain of events goes. I get that feedback from Facebook because I have all the right pixels and so forth and events in place, then I can use that information to retarget customers just like the one who just purchased. That's free game right there, gang. So as we look at the intent and then the purchase, so that sales funnel applies to all different components. If you look on the right side, whether or not you use paid advertising or free, I see a lot of people that do some great things on social media. It's just free. They don't spend a dime. They utilize a YouTube, an Instagram, a TikTok, and they know how to do it really well to engage a client. And they know how to take them through the funnel. One of the people who I think is phenomenal, Madeline Moves. Check out Madeline Moves' page on Instagram. Got over 500,000 followers, and she has a subscription model. Her subscription model supplies all different type of workouts. She has basically the workout of the day, and she's built this unbelievable community. Unbelievable. And who knows how many people she has that's part of her membership program. And then she runs paid challenges and so forth. So that is another phenomenal way, as we talked about, the subscription model to get to where you're trying to go as it relates to building that sustainable income through speed training. So the sales funnel is simply nothing more than a guide. You're taking the customer on a journey as they go through the process. And I will step through this. At the end of the day, you got outbound marketing, just paid, and then you have inbound marketing, which is organic. You have to be able to differentiate the two. You got a low budget, you're going to be on the right side, inbound marketing all day. And the best is word of mouth. And the way you achieve that is by making the athletes faster, making them better, and having a great experience so that they have a story to tell. At the end of the day, that's what will drive it. When I started my business, I didn't have social media marketing. When I started it, what I had was a Wolfe Effect, who turned my business into an exponentially awesome revenue generator. So as you look at this process, provide value, make a connection, nurture the journey, maintain engagement, and convert to a client. That's your sales funnel. Now, on here, we talk about a traditional website versus a landing website. For those of you who have a website, is it a bulletin? That's your traditional website. Put it up there, it's bullet. Hey, look at me. Da, 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 da. Man, at the end of the day, your website has to answer the question, why you? Why your service? What are you going to do for me? Tell you a little story. I had an executive client that I was training, and I started training the person before COVID. trained the person all throughout COVID. And then COVID ended. My training studio opened up. All good, ready, rock and roll. I told the client, I don't know that I'll be able to train you at this particular time because things are starting to move in a different direction again. My client says to me, but what about me? And then I said, well, no, I have blah, 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 blah. No, but what about me? Understand, end of the day, people care about them. What about them? So your website's got to reflect. This is how you're going to help them get what they want. And people in our industry now, they shop. They shop. I've had so many people. So I do all of our game plans. A game plan, in many people's world, they call it a discovery call. 15-minute call. Person makes an appointment with me. We do a consultation. And I ask them, how'd you hear about us? They'll tell me, Google. And oftentimes, they can't remember who I am or who my company is because they've also looked at several other companies. So people are shopping. And then I'll say, well, what made you put us on your list? And they'll go through the notes. Oh, well, I really liked how the website said it met my needs and what I was looking for. So that's the key. Traditional bulletin board, funnel page, very focused. You're guiding the customer through an experience. You're answering you're telling them what the dream or desire is, and you're telling them what the objectives are, or you're actually stating what their potential objectives are, and then you're talking them through how your program is the solution to helping them improve their performance. And with a successful sales funnel, it's about the client avatar. It's about speaking to the person of one, making it a one-person conversation. So as we go through this, I just kind of explained a lot of these things. Now, in closing, before we go to Q&A, I want to talk to you about the one thing. I'm going to challenge you, being the coach that I am. What's the one thing that you're going to take from this? What's the one thing that you're going to take from this? And I encourage you to read that book. What is your game plan? What's your game plan for client acquisition? Is it to build relationships? I hope so. That is an effective way to elevate your business. It is to maximize your social media, to be able to create that funnel that we talked about. Is it to tap into your current clients and ask your current clients for referrals based on the experience that they've had? What is your game plan for client retention? So once you get that client, what's your game plan? I can tell you this, results, first and foremost, take care of itself. If you're getting your client the results that they're seeking, that's a retention strategy. That's a retention win. Then the next level. Clients are always talking about, okay, I've done this. If you have a 10-package program, what's next? You need to have a program that takes them to the next level. You need to have programming that takes them to the next level. And then communication. When we talk about retention, communicating with your clients and building a relationship with them during every step of the journey. Because remember now, your clients come to you because they got a vision, they got a goal. And you need to be able to communicate where they are in that process, and more importantly, how you can continue to help them along their journey. And then client value. Are you going to exceed expectations? Are you going to over-deliver and under-promise? Are you going to make them a client of one, meaning that they're the only ones that's most important at the time that you're working with them? That you're right here, right now, coach, and you're not looking on your phone and doing this. You're going to deliver value by just being in the moment and fully present. Everyone who you work with, you over-deliver. You're going to over-deliver and under-promise. So when we think about what is the one thing that you're going to do to be able to elevate, move toward a prosperous and generational business. So I want to offer you a resource that Dr. Ken Clark and I have put together. It's called the Fast School Fundamentals for Team Sport Athletes. Now, what area is it going to help you with? It's going to help you with building out a system, a winning system that's going to help your athletes improve their performance so that one, you increase revenue, you get multiple Leslie Wolves, and it's a retention strategy because you have happy customers that are getting great results. And at the end of the day, you're changing and impacting lives. You're helping athletes move up to the level that they're trying to get to. So when we look at what does this entail, the Fast School for Fundamental Team Sport Athletes, comprehensive course, 5 modules. First week, we got acceleration. Second week is top end. Third week, we go through program design. Fourth week, we go through profiling, how to profile your athletes in this special section for 40-yard dash. Then the last week, the last module, we tie everything together. There's a total of 64 modules. Plus, we give you nutrition. We give you coaching cues. We give you a lot of rich information. Dr. Ken Clark does the scientific foundations, and I do the applied. So we'd like to think that it's a winning formula to be able to release this to coaches to be able to help their athletes. Here's a quote from someone who just took the course. And to begin your 6-figure journey, we'd love to partner with you, love to come alongside you and coach you. QR code here takes you right to the landing page of the course. Now I'm going to open it up. Thank you so much for your attention. I'm going to open it up for Q&A.
Dwayne, if you want to click on the Q&A at the bottom, there's a question there. If you want to just read it out loud and then answer it.
Okay. The question is, for the Fast School model, do you sell it by the session or by the month? Great question. So for us, ideally, we sell it by the month. Our Fast School is a 4-session program that we do weekly. However, we have other options. An athlete can do 3 sessions during that given month. An athlete can do 2 sessions during that given month. An athlete can do a drop-in session. We allow our athletes who've been through our program to do a drop-in session. Now, why is the schedule so flexible? I'll tell you this. Back in the day, when I started running Fast Schools, schedule conflicts were minimal. Now, oof, man, kids got all kind of stuff, especially with the emergence of travel ball. A lot of kids are playing travel ball parallel with their high school sport or their middle school team sport. So there's a lot of schedule conflicts, and we needed to make it as flexible as possible and adapt to the marketplace. The other question, can we get the QR code again? See here. Hopefully you can see that. That's the QR code.
Actually, Dee, can you just click on your presentation again? I'm sorry, I'm just staring at you. I just want to make sure everyone else can see it.
Sure. You know what? I may have some problems with that. I'll have to get it to them. Okay, next question. Do you provide opportunities for coaches to come to your facility and shadow? Yes, I do. However, it's got to be at the right time. So we'd sit down, have a conversation, and make sure it's at the right time. Because it's very important that we're on the same page as it relates to expectations around shadowing. Because when I'm on the floor coaching, I'm locked in on the client. I'm not trying to focus on trying to do 2 things. Number 1 thing is my client. So reach out to me, Dwayne@coachcarlyle.com. Next question. Who is this FAST program for? Are athletes or for coaches? It is for coaches. It is absolutely for coaches. Thanks for that question. The website is Fast School Fundamentals. Fast School Fundamentals with an S.com. FastSchoolFundamentals.com is the website. Excellent presentation. Thank you. I appreciate that. Question: if you don't have a facility, can your system be used for outdoor camps? Absolutely. Designed for outdoor camps. The Fast School Fundamentals course, the digital course, it's all about, it's a non-facility type of program and course. And let me tell you, you want to learn about speed? If you guys don't know who Dr. Ken Clark is, Google him. Go to Ken Clark Speed. Dr. Ken Clark was actually an intern for me at my Lightning Fast Center that Aaron went to. Small world. But he is now the premier researcher in the area of speed. He has over 30 publications. And we make a nice team because he and I have kept our relationship going. I've hired him as a consultant to make sure that our program is bulletproof and yielding results that is going to help continue to take our athletes to the next level. What are some events you run in the community to attract athlete leads? That's another great question. We run several different types of events to attract athlete leads. So I'll give you one very, very effective for us is we just simply will go out and we'll do a free clinic for youth sports organization. We'll go out and do a clinic and typically draw anywhere between 40 to 50 athletes. That gives us an opportunity to work with the athletes. Now, let me tell you this. If you do a clinic, incorporate testing. Test them. Test them. If you run a 20-yard, you run a clinic, test them in a 10, test them in a 20, do a pro agility, simply because now you are establishing a need. And parents want their kids to improve, and they can see it. They can see it when the kid's out on the field and they're testing. You don't even have to give them the time, but of course you do. But that's an important component, is to test them. What are some businesses you've partnered up with for joint venture in the local area? Well, that's a great question. If you consider youth sports a business, which they are, they absolutely are. Many of them operate under a nonprofit status. As I mentioned, we've partnered with them to do youth sports camps. There's a multitude of different things that you can do with various businesses. I would go after a business where we have the same target market. So, for example, a running store or a store that sells athletic attire for the population that you work with. I would align our business strategies to be able to create something that we both can win in. And I think the number one thing is always presenting win-win scenarios. Always. How can you help them? And hopefully it aligns with how they can help you. What do you use for force velocity profiling, apps or other? Can you do it in your Fast School program? Yes, we do it. We do it. There's some apps out there that you can use for force velocity profiling. So what we do, and we have a section on it, super thorough section on it in the course. What we do is we have timing gates. We'll have athletes run a 40, get the split at 10, 20, and 40. Then we plug that in for the force velocity. And then for load velocity, we will have the athletes engage in sled running at 25%, 50%. I sometimes don't go up to 75%. We get their best 5-meter split over about 25 to 30 meters, and then we plug that in. I have tools in the course that allow you to put that information in, and it generates reports and tells you exactly what they need. But there are apps that you can use that will give you a force velocity profiling. I have a 1080 sprint A 1080 sprint will give you a force velocity profiling. The 1080 has 1 kg of load, so it's not a pure unloaded sprint. Nevertheless, you can get some really, really good data around that force velocity profiling. But there are apps, like I said. How do you scale from an individual to a small group? Great question. So think of it like this. Showed you personal training of private clients, and I showed you the FAST School. The FAST School is simply a program that was created where you define basically how many athletes you're going to take in a given group. So if it's a small private group, it's 3 to 4, or 3 to 6, 3 to 8. And then you determine your coach to athlete ratio. If it's just yourself, let's say you take 6 athletes, 6 to 8. The key is you got to be really good to be able to coach 6 to 8 at a time and give those athletes what they need and give them the attention that they need. The number one question I always get from parents when they call, well, not number one, but one of the biggest questions, they'll always ask me, what's the coach to athlete ratio? So the scale is just simply you defining the product, you making the decision that I'm going to offer this program that's going to consist of up to X amount of athletes. I think that's all it is. It's just really just making the decision that you're going to offer this and then working backwards in terms of how you're going to promote it and sell it and so forth. What speed certifications do you recommend the coaches to have? Now, if you're talking about my coaches go through my training program, and it's rigorous, and it's called feedback, and it's called teaching my coaches how to coach athletes to get faster. In terms of a speed certification, to be honest with you, I don't know of speed certifications because that's why I created the course. Ultimately, like the course could be a speed certification. There's quizzes in there, and there's, it's CEU pending right now because it's that high level of a course for coaches. So I don't know, but I can tell you this: with our course, you're going to get great information. You are going to learn how to coach linear speed, Excel, top end, multi-directional, and how to program. All right, next question. Thank you. This is a great presentation. In regards to facilities in schools or fields in towns in New Jersey, are they open to kids programs that will also look for liability aspects you discussed earlier? Okay, let me answer this like this. We currently have an agreement here in California at a private high school that we run our FAST School at on Saturdays and Sundays. And we had to submit a liability form to them. We had to have that in place in order to secure the facility. And they had to be named as an additional insured on my policy. Otherwise, that opportunity is not open to us. Most organizations require that because they don't want to get sued. They want to protect the backside. So the school that I rent at is a private school. However, a organization, the township, which is called Fremont, they had to be listed as an additional insured as well on our contract. So I'm not sure what they require in New Jersey. I was there before. When we ran programs, I had to have liability insurance. In fact, I was the director of strength and conditioning at the Lawrenceville School, and I used the facility during the summer because I was a faculty member, and I had to have liability insurance. The question, for the local sports program you work with, do you sponsor their programs? If so, what does that look like for you? We've sponsored a couple programs. We'll have kids who will approach us about contributing to a fundraiser that they're charged to do. And so we've supported kids. As far as other local sports programs, I haven't done as much since I've been in California. I did a whole lot back in the day. And here's what I would suggest. When we talk about sponsorships, There's some great ways to get creative. How about this? Typically, every organization has a website. I recommend you approach them to be a contributor of content for their website. Focus on topics such as proper warm-up, speed, recovery, nutrition, and things that provide great value to their membership base in exchange for, so you get the visibility there, but now maybe you get a banner ad or you get a link, or on their home field, you ask for a banner so that there's no monies exchange other than your time. And then they get great benefit by simply allowing you to contribute content to their membership base.